Welcome, everybody, to Katowice here for the Guns of Boom Challenger Series Season 2. I'm Jason Kappen, joined by the lovely, the handsome, definitely does not have a ton of makeup on his face, Harry Thomas, also as Lethal. How you doing, man? How you doing?
Yeah, feeling great. We're going to see some great matches and a lot of things to come here today.
Hopefully some great things to come. We've already had some massive upsets in the brackets, but we're going to actually get to that a little bit later on, because if you were not joining us last week, well, I wasn't here, unfortunately, but you did have you had Blue, you had Jackie, and you had Matt Andrews as well, bringing us the Gods of Boom live from the Spodek Arena here in Katowice. Can you kind of tell us your experience with that whole thing?
The experience was fantastic. Noble, they took that 4-0 very clean after their lineup change when they had John Wick and then they got Nokia. So I was a little bit surprised in that kind of circumstances, but Lazarus, they did have a stand-in as well. So a bit of mixed feelings about that, but Noble did a fantastic job winning that event.
And then being in the Spodek Arena with an audience as well to watch them play games. I'm sure you guys all saw the clips, if you're a Guns of Boom fan, of the players celebrating, well, certain players in particular. But speaking of the players, we did actually have some time to talk to Noble and talk about their experience with the whole event.
After the winning on the stage, we were so glad and so happy for that. This means so much for Team Noble, for Gonza Mix and Killer Machine and me Nokia. It meant so much, this victory. It's not all about going to the next event or the money. It's all about actually to show and prove the haters wrong and show that we are actually the best team in the world right now in Guns of Boom. The whole tournament for itself has been like a hell of a ride for this team. We have been in Katowice for the whole week and we have settled up with each other, get to know each other in personal. We have talked tactics and we have prepared ourselves for the most 110% before this day. And now the day has come and Guns of Boom for itself, like an event, it's a wonderful feeling for the players to get the chance to be on the biggest major event stage in the world you can imagine in eSports overall. It's a hell of a feeling and we're aiming higher, and we also hope that Game Insight and Guns of Boom also gonna aim higher for us, because we're gonna take Guns of Boom and mobile eSports for the next step and just make it bigger and bigger. And I just want to say thanks to all my family and friends and fans who are supporting this team, supporting Team Noble, supporting Gonza, Migs, Killer Machine and Nokia for this tournament, and for all the tournaments we have and our team in Guns of Boom, because this is just the beginning of the best teams in the world in Guns of Boom, and we're gonna prove the whole world what we're going for, because it's just the start and we're gonna aim higher.
Stay noble.
Stay noble.
Exactly. That was the very last question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
You know, I was actually getting a little bit worried there watching that video, because only one person was talking. I thought the other three might have been in some like really drastic car accident or something. Their vocal cords had to be removed from their throat. But I did hear them at the end. Obviously, very excited to win that whole tournament and obviously to see Guns of Boom go further. And speaking of that, we do also have a little bit of idea of what will be coming up the rest of this year when it comes Guns of Boom, because we have quite a few events in the pipeline for you guys as well. We have the North America tournament kicking off. I believe that's been announced to be in Dallas, Texas. If it hasn't, well, now you know, and I'm probably being fired, so you won't see me next week. But we still have 2 more events that come up after that.
That's right. They've been competing in the Winter Challenges since January, and this is the last one. It's so important for these teams to try and compete for the NA Pro Series, because, of course, if you win that event, you get a spot in the Gods of Boom event later on in the year.
And what's so important is that people have to realize that after today, the points will reset. And yes, you won't have a chance to go to North America, to go to Texas, to Dallas, to play in front of an audience as well. But you do have a chance to go to Latin America to play there. So there's a lot still to play for all these teams. It's not like a clear-cut decided of who's going where. You have to qualify and you have to participate to get yourselves a chance to get into that situation. But speaking of situation, we need to take a look now at the standings coming into this, because this is the 7th and final cup now here for Guns of Boom Challenger Series Season 2 for this first Pro Series event. And we do have a big team up there, 275 points with Unbreakable. They are guaranteed to be through now into the main event, but it all comes down to this, Lethal, the battle for second place.
Yeah, Unbreakable with a great way to finish things off. 275 points, completely separating from the rest. But forZe, Noble and Lazarus, they're so close. Any one of these 3 teams, depending on the circumstances of the bracket, can get that qualifying spot. So today is going to be a big one.
And it all leads into one pinnacle of a match, actually, with Noble. I'm kind of spoiling it right now. They've already been knocked out. They actually did lose a little bit early on in the bracket. So they do not have a chance to qualify. But hey, I think it's fine. Let other people have a chance to win a tournament, guys. You know, you don't have to win them all, even though I guarantee they'd want to. But we're looking at forZe eSports and looking at Lazarus to potentially meet up in the finals to determine who's going to win and who's going to be qualifying through as that second slot. And really, it's kind of anyone's game at the moment. We had Unbreakable lose pretty much in like the first or second round of this whole cup today to a team that generally has been unheard of. And it wasn't even necessarily a close match. So kind of shows a lot of good teams out there. But you know, Unbreakable, if they want to show that they deserve to be there now, they have to do well in this event coming up.
Yeah, there's been a few new teams here and there. Unbreakable, you know, losing so early on was a massive shock against a team which not actually won many matches, even in the previous cup. So that's a huge, huge upset. Probably the biggest upset we've ever had in these cups leading up to this NA Pro Series event. And anything you can maybe suggest is like what could have happened. Are they just saving their strategies to play as default as standard as possible? That it's cost them. But then again, it doesn't matter if they lose because they've guaranteed that spot going to the NA Pro Series anyway. So win or lose, it didn't really matter too much for them.
I just wonder coming into the event, there's going to be extra pressure on their shoulders because they've already performed so well in these online cups. Now you got to do it in front of an audience where things are going to be drastically different. You're not sitting at home in your boxers or whatever you want to wear, your onesie, with your legs kicked up playing. You have to play in front of an audience, play on a stage. Hopefully with us there commentating you as well. But let's take a look at the brackets of today since we only have a couple of matches to show you with both semifinals and, of course, the grand final. HAKI up against Lazarus. HAKI has a chance to actually pull off a major upset here for forZe. If HAKI can win this, then forZe is through because there's no way that Lazarus can pass them at all. And then just likewise, EMBER, if they do the same thing here to forZe, then Lazarus can be like, all right, well, we basically got our slot confirmed.
Yeah, with HAKI as well, I'm very curious about this team. I don't know too much about it. It's probably the only team I don't know too much about overall. But with Lazarus, like you mentioned, they need to at least get to the finals. But if EMBER beats forZe, then Lazarus need to win the entire thing to guarantee their spot due to the 15-point difference between forZe and Lazarus here.
And the thing is, you never want to be in a position where you have to depend on someone else's fate. Like, you don't want your own fate decided by someone else, right? You don't want to have to really put your money in the bag of, all right, this team has to beat that team for us to have a chance. You want to do it yourself. You want to control your own destiny. So for these two teams here, they're definitely looking to do that coming into the future. And, you know, you point out something, HAKI, you know, a team relatively unknown, but with $500,000 on the line for this season, I think we're going to get a lot of teams that are coming out of nowhere to really put their foot into the door and see if they have a chance to win a big chunk of this prize pool. Hell, maybe we can put together a team, you know, you, me, Blue. You, me, Jackie, and Blue.
Yeah, see what we can do after the point reset.
We'll commentate our games while we're playing. So we'll literally be here playing and commentating the match at the same time if we ever make it through, you know, the first match.
Well, that's the great thing about the point reset as well. It gets everyone to, you know, refresh, restart from scratch to try and at least get a spot in the LATAM version later on in the year.
Yeah.
And it's a good start for the new teams as well. For anyone who wants to get involved with the Guns of Boom eSports, it gives them a second opportunity to qualify for the LATAM section of these tournaments here. But with HAKI now, like, even though they managed to get this far, and I've never seen them actually place that highly, this is probably one of their highest placements they've had.
100%.
So even if they win the whole thing or even at least get to the semis, that way they've kind of got a little bit of confidence in their shoulders.
All right, well, Ether, we're going to head into our first match here of our semifinals. It's going to be Paradise Island. We'll be King of the Hill. HAKI's going to be on that blue side and Lazarus on the red. And I mean, the thing is, you could probably talk to us about Lazarus a bit since you were literally just casting them, I want to say like a week ago.
Yeah, it was
not a little bit less.
Yeah, literally, it was only last weekend. You know, they had some strong showings, but the scores don't rectify the fact that, you know, when they got 4-0, it wasn't really too good for the morale and the momentum coming into this tournament. But they didn't seem to be doing too bad so far. They got the point straight away, and it's so easy, especially on this game type, to get that hill straight away. So it gives you such an incredible advantage getting those angles.
Yeah, and not to mention, you know, you're going to see a lot of shotgun usage as well. So playing like close quarter combat with the shotgun can do some massive damage. I want to potentially see some sniper rifles, which we did have in Gods of Boom that just happened this last week. Some good damage being done. See Lord Mono able to make his way through here, pick up a double, and take the point. Eventually he did fall, but it doesn't matter. They're still having control of this. 311 up to 217. Already looking good for Lazarus.
Yeah, they're doing a great job so far. I remember Exon saying that normally does play that support role, but he's still doing the same. They're playing a lot more aggressive, and you can see from the points, he's doing a great job just trying to get involved, be a bit more aggressive than usual, and try and finish off anyone else, which he wouldn't normally do in the passive angles in the previous season.
Katakuri got himself a nice double, and unfortunately did get dropped before he could get to the point. The thing is, yeah, you take down one, you take down two, there's still going to be two more players left alive to fight you. When you're in close proximity like this, it should be easy eliminations here for the defending team. But here's Katakuri yet again, on top of the point. Actually, got two players off directly next to him. But it won't matter. It looks like he will fall, and the red side of Lazarus is going to maintain control.
Yeah, Lazarus managed to keep the hill the entire game so far, apart from
okay.
HAKI really need to not just try and get the hill, but try and keep some control here. We need to get some of these unorthodox angles just to hold them at bay, keep them at bay, and use that snipe to their advantage to at least hold them back for when they push into the middle side. But so far, great stuff from Lazarus.
And you see both teams just kind of dripping in onto the point. They're not coming in all together as a 4. They're just kind of straggling in just to make sure to contest the point, prevent their team from securing any sort of point advantage. In the meantime, HAKI is starting to gain a big grasp here on the lead that Lazarus did have. They're only down by about 90 points, now 80 points, and they're continuing to grind away at this. We need to see Lazarus start to step up here. If you were one of those teams invited to God of War, you have a reputation to defend.
That's right, and now it seems to be a bit weird at first, but managed to get some kills on the board. Are going to try and contest that point, which they have done now, and looks like they will try and get this back. We've got Katakuri here, trying to get the flank on him, but that's not going to help in any way as X has managed to finish him up. But you've got 2 more players here trying to get that flank round.
Now, Katakuri's been doing a good job of playing like more of the long-range game. It seems when he gets in close proximity of any other opponents with the shotguns is where he really kind of gets out-positioned or out-manned and into these 1-on-2 fights that you just generally can't win. Lord Mono's actually going to lose the close quarter combat fight, as I just mentioned, against Katakuri. But XLN will come in the meantime to eliminate him. Good old One Piece reference here with Monkey D. Rufy. Never seen the anime. Don't plan to, unless somehow they can win this one 2-0. Then I'd be impressed. They'd be like, hell, I deserve it to him to go check the show out.
Oh, definitely. I've never seen it personally myself, but, you know, I might change my mind and see what it's all about.
Sure, love for Dragon Ball, so we can forgive each other.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I'm a big fan of that, of course. And looking at it now, such a clear margin here. It's only 47-point difference now, considering the 200-point margin from before. But Lazarus need to get something done here, get some flanks on the board, try and get this hill back. And as soon as I get it back, just need to hold it just for a small margin of time, get those angles covered. But look at this now, the bait and switch from Lazarus. They could end it here.
Yeah, I think they're going to go into as well. 40 points away. They have a nice 3-person stand here on the point. They need to actually rush in and contest. As you can see, he's trying to take some shots here, Monkey. Not able to really hit too many as he catches onto Divine King. But Divine King's going to chime back in. And it won't matter. Lazarus will come out to be the stronger team in the end. But to be fair to HAKI, this is a team that was looking pretty damn good. This is a team that I could see legitimately beating Unbreakable.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. We didn't really know what to expect because we've not really seen much with this team in previous cups. This is the first opportunity we've actually had to find out what they're all about. You know, if they've got the goods or maybe just haven't, you know, they'll struggle against a team like Lazarus, but seems like they can keep up with them.
Yeah, and again, like the thing is, you were one of the teams invited to Gods of Boom. You were up against Noble. Yeah, it was definitely a quick tournament.
It was very quick.
I guess we can say to kind of be nice. But the fact that they got invited, seen as being one of the top teams in Europe, you have a reputation to defend, and I almost feel like not only do they have to win this just to qualify to the Pro Series, but they also need to win this just for themselves to show, you know, not some quote-unquote no-name team is going to rock in here and drop us. And they did. There were some questionable moments that were happening, but they played the game they know, and they did it well.
Yeah, they refreshed their mindset since IEM. You know, it's a real struggle just due to the fact that, you know, they won the Katowice Invitational, they won the Season 1 finals, and to lose 4-0 on the stage at IEM, you're not going to be feeling too good. You know, it's just one of those situations which you just have to just accept to move on. And it looks like they've reset their mentality, and you have to do it in this cup, because if they don't do it in the NA Pro Series, the only other chance they'll have is the LATAM Pro Series, and that's it.
I can see some highlights from the match as well. I did like the use, by the way, of these teams here on Paradise Island using the little statue in the middle for cover. And a couple of the angles that we saw Lazarus come in on were denied just because of sitting behind that. But then again, it did open them up for HAKI to actually be shot from different angles. But in the end, I mean, it was like, what, like a 60, 50-point game at some point in this. It was still relatively close, and things can change when we go into Farming Complex for Control.
Yeah, with this map on Paradise Island, once you get the point straight away, it's so easy just due to the fact that it's so open.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle to at least try and contest in any way. And, you know, your opponents are going to make the assumption to go on the low side to get some flanks going, or at least put enough damage to be able to push straight into the middle. But, you know, HAKI, they managed to actually do that, managed to get the control back, but Lazarus have these counter strategies to kind of replicate that and get back control and finish the game.
Again, shotguns just proving to be so key and so instrumental in these. I would like to see maybe some of the bigger maps where the sniper rifle is going to be really important and really effective, because obviously it's a lot different to aim with a mouse versus a controller versus your thumbs here, like on a mobile device or like a tablet. It's a lot more difficult to do, and to hit these shots, which you see it doing 2.4k damage, like that's a lot of damage done, and that pretty much means you have to only hit him like once or twice to finish him off. With someone else could do that instead of having to hit multiple shots with a shotgun or something like that to eliminate them. So very important. I would hope to see some of those coming into this a little bit later on. I mean, we still have 2 more matches at minimum to come up after this anyways.
Yeah, it's in terms of weaponry, it depends what kind of map you're playing. If it's quite a lot of close quarters, you may see like, maybe a porcupine here and there, but most of the players do normally use the avalanche. It's more consistent in terms of the damage output, which is why you see a lot of them use it, or in terms of the assault rifles, they'll use the Odin. So it makes a little bit of sense, or they'll have the scout just so that when it's in hand, they can push up a lot quicker on certain parts of the sites. That's if it is an objective game.
Well, we are going to be getting to the objective game momentarily. Control point. What's your thoughts on this, by the way? Actually, I like how you have these 3 different styles. TDM for teams who are just kind of like really frag heavy. You have control point for teams who are very strategic. And you have COP, which is going to be like a mixture of the two. What's your kind of take on it?
It's quite an interesting one because with Hill, it's a different type of strategy. You've got to try and find so many different openings in there, but with control point now, which we're going to go straight into, it's quite rare you see a trip cap on certain maps, especially on this one, considering the circumstance of the spawn locations. But if you see a team that good and manage to trip cap, you know something's going wrong.
Yeah, 100%. You see Kaido able to get the first frag here on the board. We're going to see 1 point taken for both teams. The contestant to come over towards A as we see HAKI able to get on top of it. Only for a split second of time, though. It's going to be turning back on the way here of Lazarus in a few seconds. So the 2-1 should be in favor of the red side.
In terms of control point maps, normally for Lazarus, Saloon's one of their best ones. But seeing this at IEM, they weren't actually doing too badly. But a triple elimination from Mano to start things off straight away. What a great start from this team to at least try and increase their lead.
And you can see, speaking of lead, almost a 100-point difference between the two. Still a lot of points to go, obviously, till we get to the tipping point of the map. Now it's going to be it's going to be a little bit of a skirmish here. You see A going to be captured here for HAKI. It's going to be turned in a second to Lord Mono. You see an area going to be trying to contest this, but again, 1v2, you're not likely to win those situations, I would say 90% of the time. And now they have the 2 points in their favor yet again here for Lazarus.
Yeah, once you get a full team wipe or at least 3 down, you've got to kind of make a decision where do you want to go for some of the points on your own, or do you want to stick to the 2 of them and bait and switch when they come on spawn. But HAKI did make the right decision to do it separately, but I don't think they did it quick enough to take full control. But even though they're a little bit far behind so far, they still get taken down, and Lazarus doing such a great job just keeping them at bay.
Yeah, the amount of times I've seen this control point mode in like multiple games that I've commentated, generally the teams who try to go for that trip cap end up having a major point swing against them because they get a little bit too cocky, right? They get too aggressive, they get spread too thin, then they just start to lose these fights that they would be winning if they didn't have to control 3 points, and the other team's able to turn it around on you. But to be fair to Lazarus, they're not doing too horribly. They're not doing too badly, as obviously you see they have the lead at the moment, but they still are at a deficit here in terms of points.
Sometimes when a team does go for the trip cap, they force it so that the opposite team can go for one of the smaller locations. So at least if your opponents do take one of the other ones, you still got guaranteed 2 points to keep your score up and keep that lead increasing. But so far, as you can see, Snipes is trying to keep it at bay. He does manage to get into the middle in the end. He's trying to get that B control, which he will do eventually, but he's so low. But Sally Lund managed to clean him up, and Divine King managed to get taken down there. But you got 3 of them just waiting for him. Romeo managed to clean up. Manu get one of his own, and excellence gets traded up there.
Yeah, speaking of cleanup, it seems no one's really anchoring any of these points either. No one's playing that defender kind of role. Romeo is stalking his prey like in the Serengeti. Up close and personal, going to take down Mr. Monkey himself. And that should be a 2 cap going back the way of Lazarus. But in the meantime, A was being contested, I believe it was. It's going to be turning back in Lazarus' hands. 923 to 817. We're getting to the point here where Lazarus could potentially pull off this 2-0.
Lazarus are 3 down at the moment, so this is HAKI's opportunity to try and get something going here, get those points, get at least 2 going, but look at him now. Romeo managed to get at least 1 back, does get traded off in the end, but it's going to be very close here. Only 80 points separating both these teams. And HAKI needs to really do something quite drastic here. Wouldn't say a trip cap, but just keep 2 of the points, get the kills they need, and hopefully take the lead before the game finishes.
And hopefully stop dying as well, because even though they are trying to get the 2 points back in their favor, all of these deaths are really starting to accumulate against them. 1,144 to 1036. You can see at the moment, Lord Mono, 237 for himself. Able to do some serious work, while Katakuri and Anera both are about tied here at 180 apiece. But there it is. Lazarus going to take the 2-0, 13-3. Sorry, 13 kills, 3 eliminations, or 13 kills, 3 assists. Don't know where I got eliminations from here for him. He did a fantastic job.
It's probably because I said it earlier, to be fair, with the triple elimination.
Hey, I just
Not
got
very
back.
often.
I just got back from a tournament where I was not allowed to say kills, so it's refreshing for me to be able to say it again. I had to say elimination every time, and you know how it is being an FPS commentator, how hard it is to make that switch.
It is. I'm not going to lie. It is super difficult.
Almost as hard as it is to beat Lazarus, as you saw here, as HAKI unfortunately is not able to do so. I told you I'd be doing that all day long. As they're able to take the 2-0. But more importantly, winning that gets them one step closer to potentially qualifying in for the event in North America. They still have another match they have to win after this, but that's the step they need to do, taking the fate in their own hands.
Took the words right out of my mouth. It is in their
I
own
literally,
hands.
you didn't see it. I just grabbed it, took it from him, took it myself.
But no, you're right, though. You know, they're going to be happy. They're going to be satisfied. They're going to be like, okay, we had a nice 2-0 to finish things up to get to the finals. But forZe are going to be really worried now. EMBER, they're not the kind of squad like a complete walkover. They are a strong team. You know, they got to the top 4 this season, won finals, and it looks like today they're looking very strong. Spleen and the boys, if they're actually be able to make something happen, then they can definitely do it. You know, they could be able to upset forZe and then help Lazarus get through. You know, Lazarus are going to be, you know, going to be thanking him probably
Exactly.
in that respect, and
Then they're
save
just
them
like,
hassle.
we don't have. I mean, they're obviously going to play because there's money on the line here, but it's kind of like we can relax.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you could be like, you know, in the middle of the game, you know, call up your mom. Mom, I made it. I'm going to Texas. I'm going to have some barbecue, which I'm going to treat you to because, oh my Lord, it's amazing there. But no, it is massive victory for them. But again, they have to watch this next match with EMBER versus forZe. Hope that EMBER wins for their sake to have, you know, to have it done and dusted, not have to worry about playing another match. But knowing how these past results have been, forZe is probably going to be the team to go through, and we're going to have a clash of the Titans in the finals.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise. The only thing I can say is if forZe lose, don't get me wrong, Lazarus, they are going to be celebrating like he said, and they can save more of their strategies and play more standard and default. And even if they win or lose, they've got the spot anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. But in this case, they need to play their best no matter what match it is so far.
All right, well, speaking of matches, we still have 2 more to come after this. We'll be back in a short amount of time here with EMBER up against forZe, and we'll see you guys in a bit. Welcome back, everyone, to the Guns of Boom Challenger Series Season 2, Cup number 7. I'm Jason Kappen, still joined here. Luckily, he tried to run away to go grab a coffee, but I was like, no, we got more Guns of Boom action to cast. It's lethal. And we finished our first game of the day, and now Lazarus is going to be sitting here waiting, watching to see if they have to fully try hard in their last match of the day to get through into the Pro Series, into Dallas, Texas, with a lot of money on the line, getting to meet us as well. I feel like that's a big deal. Probably him more than me.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
Get to eat some great food there. You get to, live the American life, the American dream. And you get to play some games here. You get to actually compete on a stage with an audience and with commentators there as well. So lethal. First game done and dusted. Going into game 2 here in just a few moments of time. Can Ember, you think? Give me your honest. Give me your professional commentator answer, and then your honest answer. Can Ember take this? Those are, for people at home don't know. There's two different things. Your professional commentator's answer and your honest answer. But what's your professional commentator's answer?
It's probably going to be the same answer both sides anyway, no matter what we're speaking. But it's going to be quite a difficult one. Lazarus, they could be comfortable now. They've got to the final with that 2-0 and with HAKI as well. You saw, there was a spark there. They are a pretty good team from what we've seen compared to previous cups where their placements were quite poor. But at least they managed to step up and make it to the semi-final. So commiserations to them, but they did a good job anyway.
It's a shame it was so late in the cups, though. That's the only unfortunate part.
Yeah, that's the other thing as well. And now in this next match, going back to your question with Ember and forZe, it's going to be a difficult one because, with Ember, they're not a team to be taken lightly, and we're going to see if they are taken lightly going into this, as forZe need this win to be able to have a chance of qualifying.
All right, well, here we go. Back on Paradise Islands on King of the Hill. And Ember have been able to make their way through to the semifinals, able to guarantee themselves a minimum of $100 and 40 points. But again, those 40 points aren't really going to matter unless you're Lazarus or forZe here.
Yeah, forZe managed to take all 4 down straight away.
Oh.
Great way to start things off, but you saw a couple of members of Finale Spleen just getting a little bit too aggressive on their spawn to try and get that flank, which is fair enough. You can make that play sometimes, but sometimes it's a little bit too open. But Stas in there, triple elimination from him just to add insult to injury at this stage.
Yeah, and they're pushing their own spawn as well. I mean, it's not necessarily a thing you need to do, but I think they're really trying to hammer this one down, saying we are the better team. We're going to take the fight to you, even with spawn protection. We're not going to care. It looks like finally the point will be turned over here to Ember, though. We're going to obviously see some contention come out. Stason is just on a rampage. 111 points. He's pretty much double the second highest player on his team.
Yeah, that's the problem with this map as well on spawn. You can't really push too far because as soon as you attack someone with respawn immunity, it's going to be a huge problem there. Doran with another triple elimination there. They are making a slow comeback here, but just not getting this point on. You've got some of these players on forZe just contesting it and doing such a great job doing this as well. Stassin again coming from behind. That's already 3 down for Ember here, and it's not looking too good to start off in his first game.
Yeah, Stassin's just been given so much ground to run with. Hale going to be actually pushing up against Tal here, and should be a relatively easy elimination. Stason was there to back him up as well. You can see Doran coming in from behind. He does get the elimination, does get the frag on the board. They do have control of the point here in a few seconds, so well done by them. But now here's the hard part. You've taken the point, which we've seen teams do all day long so far, but can you maintain control of it? Can you win these aim battles? You can see Tal not even looking near Hale.
Yeah, they're going to have to choose these fights very wisely here. Need to at least get some damage done beforehand, but somehow Armace went on his own, managed to get a trade anyway. So important, so crucial, but a double elimination there from Hale, but does get trade off in the end. Spleen going straight in. We know what he's like as a player, extremely aggressive, but it seems like now forZe are going to try and get that point back.
I think something that's so important we're seeing forZe do is when they attack, they're never attacking from the same spot. They're constantly coming in from all these different angles, so you can never feel comfortable. You can never use cover to your advantage to hide behind. They're always going to have someone firing at you. You can see there, Tal looking the wrong way. Stason's going to eventually take him down. And they're just attacking from all these angles and providing no real chance for Ember to defend.
This is the issue as well. When you do have the objective in hand, you can just sit back and snipe from not weird angles, but slightly unorthodox angles just to keep him at bay, get some damage done, and then no matter what happens, when you try and pick a fight or try and get the objective back, you're always going to be quite weak after the next one. So it's going to be quite difficult, but for Ember to take this game back, we're going to need, well, probably a miracle right now.
I think that's why we're seeing, forZe get so aggressive off of taking the point, because then they take the fight to you. They don't let you set up the way you want to attack the point. They're not letting you get comfortable. They get the first shot off on you to get you weak coming into the fight after. And if they do lose it, and speaking of losing, I don't think that we're going to see forZe do that at all here. 944 points to 700 and about 50. Yes, the point will be controlled the blue side of Ember, but not for much longer.
Yeah, Hale shutting him down there and getting that double elimination from behind. But even though we get a trade-off there, I think it's just going to be a little bit too late here. And even though they get a nice double, they do get taken down. And forZe, with that first win and stats in 14 kills, I'm not really too surprised with the amount of flanks he did, but Doran did pretty good well himself, 16 kills on his side.
I want to call him Stason.
Yeah?
Just because he sounds closer to Jason, so I can feel like I actually accomplished something in esports.
So you have like a bit more of a meaning?
I mean, we can talk about what we talked about off air in rehearsals and about whether or not the games I played was a legitimate esport or not. I say it is. We don't need to hear what he has to say, but that was well done by forZe. Now one more map away from getting through to the finals, and that's where it's the big battle. That's where winner of that one goes through to the event, and unfortunately the loser is going to have to watch from home.
Yeah, this is the problem now. With forZe, I was quite surprised with their start strategy. The fact that they just went straight into the objective and in the open as well. Because if you're in the open in that kind of circumstances, it's very difficult because straight away, when you actually going through this replay here, look, you see 2 or 3 of them going straight away inside. But one thing to point out is the fact that Stassen went straight in onto their spawn, but trying to keep him at bay, even if he died on their side of the map, to keep him at bay enough time in order to get that objective.
You saw right there as well. Sorry to cut you off, just to point out, Stason got a triple because they all went into the house towards the point and they're all lined up front with a shotgun. Like, you again, just to really emphasize, forZe did such a great job of attacking from so many different angles, and with this aggressive play coming out of them, I think they catch EMBER off guard, then they force them to go one direction because you have to deal with that player in your spawn. I actually liked the strategy. I really liked it, and it worked out really well for it. I was more convincing for me than seeing Lazarus earlier on. And that has nothing to do with the caliber of teams, anything like that. They just seem, in general, a better team on this map.
Yeah, it did seem like it. We saw some different, not strategies, but their movement in terms of how they actually execute the sites. So you saw, you know, with EMBER, they pushed in more as a wolf pack in 3s and 4s now and again. But with forZe, they're more focused on getting on the angles. And there was some aggression here and there as well, but only when they knew they got 2 there, which is quite standard when you actually try and push onto the site.
And I think it's also important to realize that, like, hitting that first shot is so important, because that's a complete advantage. As long as, if you're assuming both players are equally accurate in their shots, whoever gets the first shot off generally will win the fight, right? And that surprise factor coming around the corner with a shotgun in your spawn is completely going to catch you off guard. And then the positions they were defending from multiple angles made it very hard for you to, you know, easily get into the point with a lot of HP, you know, with a really good setup. But now moving into our second map, Farming Complex, going to go over to Control. And so far, the Control is going the way of EMBER.
That's right. You've got first strike there from Speedman. Get a nice double to start things off. And already 4 down on the side of forZe now. So we're going to see what they can do to try and make some kind of comeback here. And normally when you do see a full wipe, you will see the opponent to try and hide on certain angles too, even though they will get eliminated at some stage, but at least they get the first shot to get some damage done to finish them off on the respawn.
We do have a 2-point control here coming in for forZe. And again, pushing in towards our spawn. Stason leading the charge, gets himself another. He's currently up to 46 points, leading his team yet again. The real stand-up player for me. Coming from behind, Hale's going to fall, though, to the knife. And Adorn, who was the big point leader for EMBER on our first map.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job that last map with 16 kills. The rest of the team, you know, it's more damage dealt rather than getting the kills done, but mainly helping out Doran there. But Stason now managed to clean up Spleen. He needs to try and set some of his points on the board now. On again, and Stason with a second one to clean things up. Great job from him.
He had a nice little spot with a nade, actually. It came, like, right through a pallet, like through the corner of it. Landed on point, did some decent damage as well. They do have a nice point lead, closing on about 100 points. I've learned over the course of my time, being a commentator, to never do math on air, as I try to quickly do it in my head as I was talking, and it's about 104, 102 now.
The maths is okay. It's fine. You know,
it's not bad. It's been worse.
It's average, no? Average is your best?
Just say counting is very difficult on air, but I swear I can do it when I'm not in front of a camera.
That's what they always say.
You get camera shy.
But we've got EMBER now. They've finally taken the lead. Only a small amount now between both teams, and this is where we're going to see one of these teams manage to stabilize now. Even though forZe are slightly ahead, we need to see what happens later on in this game in terms of how they're going to strategize getting at least 2 of these points on the board and put them on spawn.
Yeah, I mean, getting ahead is great, but it's all about maintaining the lead and building the lead, and that's what we've not been able to see EMBER do. Yes, they had the lead in the beginning. They just had the lead about 10, 15 seconds ago, but look how quickly that lead changed. 100-point difference now from them having the lead. That's how fast this gameplay can be, and that's how fast you can go from being in first to second.
And it's a lot of these team wipes that EMBER's been having as well. Even though they've been doing a great job getting them all on spawn and preparing for the next wave on the death cycle, you've noticed there that the forZe guys, they don't just go in separately. They wait for each other to spawn, bait and switch, and go for the next point straight afterwards. And it's how you really should play this map in particular.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's going to be very strategic heavy. Obviously, a lot of deathmatch comes into play, but this is all about getting those favorable fights. You know, the 2-on-1s, the 3-on-2s, and coming out ahead, and ideally coming out healthy in the midst of that as well. C point will be turned over to forZe. I think A is going to be turned over to Ember in a few seconds, but Hale has something to say about it as well. Stason coming in. They're going to be having a 2-point hold here most likely, unless they lost the fight towards C, which it seems they have.
Yeah, Ember really need to do something now. Only 100 points away until forZe do take this now, and it's going to be quite difficult, and you love my maths.
I thought you were going to do it there. I was like, it's about 100 points. So that's pretty easy. You could probably say 100.
It was 96. Yeah, you want it to be super accurate. But anyways, 50 points away now. That I can do. And it looks like forZe could be taking this one by the look of things.
Yeah, 100%. As you do see them cross the 1,200 point threshold. Hale at 11 kills, Stason at 11, 7-7 for Larson and Devi. On the other side, I mean, kills are generally equal between the two teams, but it wasn't about the kills. It was about controlling those points and about getting those favorable fights.
Yeah, you saw from there that forZe were a lot more prepared in terms of setting up for when they actually push out on spawn and those kind of areas. But it's a bit weird because with Ember, sometimes they've got a little bit over-aggressive, maybe a bit overzealous, and with the respawn immunity, it make things 10 times harder. But, you know, great play by forZe there.
Did you calculate the 10 times as well?
Maybe.
That's impressive if you did.
Well, my maths is alright.
I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. Just like I'm trusting these highlights to really show how we did see forZe pick up the victory. Again, I think one of the keys to victory is just about getting those favorable exchanges. I know it sounds like a broken record, but that's what it's about strategically, guys. When it comes to maps like this, you need to, you know, have a good idea of where the enemy team's going. You need to have a good understanding of like where you can position yourself to get the favorable fights. And more importantly, you got to be super accurate too, because you need to not only hit your shots, but you have to make it so the other guy has an even more difficult time hitting the shots against you.
Yeah, that's right. And you saw in times and time again, they don't really separate too much. Ember did do a good job sticking together and making sure nothing would come left, right, and centre, but their awareness needs to be improved just a little bit more. They were caught off guard sometimes. I think they were a little bit worried where when the team of forZe would actually sit back and wait for each other, Ember would then make the assumption that they've already preparing the flank, but actually they were just sitting on spawn, wait for the opportunity. So it's kind of like a bit of mind games here and there.
And I mean, mind games, even though it's an FPS at heart and that's the base mechanics of it, mind games always take it to that next level. Whether it's this FPS game or any other FPS game out there, you need to have a strong thing in here. And no, that's not my heart, that's my brain, even though it might be very small inside. I can actually hear it rattling.
Well, like
sometimes.
A hamster will?
Sometimes. Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah?
Let's go with that. Yeah, have a hamster living in my head. I'm kidding. I believe we're going to head to a break, though, because we do have to get ready for our grand finals. It's going to be a good one. Lazarus up against forZe. No idea. Sorry, forZe. No idea who's going to win this one, but the winner will be going through to Texas to eat barbecue and, more importantly, play for a big chunk of money. We'll see you guys after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to the Guns of Boom Season 2 Challenger Series. I'm Jason Kapp, and I'm not a weight screen, and he's lethal. He is the weight screen, because look at that beautiful put-em on his face. And we have now our finals here of Cup 7, the final cup here as we lead into the Pro Series, and we're going to find out at the end of this next match, this best of 5. God, yeah, I can't help but look away from you. I'm going to get lost in your eyes.
Love it. I know.
We're going to find, where was I? We're going to find out who's going to North America, who's going to be one of the EU representatives, or the last EU representative to join Unbreakable into Texas, into barbecue land.
Yeah, this is going to be a good barbecue land. Where did that come? I like it. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, they got great Mexican food and great barbecue. They have great food, period, in Texas.
I'll just do it for the barbecue. Really.
Everything's
I'm a
bigger in
barbecue man.
Texas.
I'm a barbecue man.
I'm going to love if we go on air, not to spoil anything, in Texas, because I just kind of spoiled that we're going to be there. You just have barbecue sauce all over your shirt. I'm kind of hoping you have like a spotty shirt just so it kind of blends in. But you know what? Enough about us, because we have Lazarus against forZe. Winner of this goes through. This is the ultimate match. The ultimate way, I think, to end the Challenger Series here for Europe. Winner goes through to the main event, and winner has that chance to win that extra money.
This is it now. If Ember won, then it wouldn't be so much of a spectacle for the final. But the fact that whoever wins this, no matter the points now, will guarantee their trip to Texas for the NA Pro Series. It's going to be so, so important. But forZe, we haven't seen really too much of like good performances in terms of offline results. But with Lazarus, after last week not having a good result at IEM, they're going to really want to reset their mentality and really try and go for this. Because I really feel like they can, now they've got Romeo back on board for this event. But can they do it? I think they can, but forZe looked really strong in that last series.
And just to give you guys an idea about how close these two are, if Lazarus wins, they'll only be ahead by 10 points.
And that's literally nothing.
That's like if you're one of these two teams and you're thinking back to prior cups, like if we just won that one match, if we just got one step further to tournament, or maybe if we just played that cup that time. I don't know if they played all the cups. Like that could have been the deciding factor between going to Texas and not. And that's something that all of you at home should keep in mind as well, because after today, the points will reset and we'll still have more Challenger Series to come up. Next one leading into a Latin America event. Not going to spoil where it's going to be just yet, but we do know where it is.
It's going to be a good
somewhere in Latin America.
That's right. Just one of the countries. We'll find out soon enough. But yeah, you're right. You know, with the point reset, it gives all the new teams another chance to actually come back now. But we're going to go straight into this first game between Lazarus and forZe.
Yep, heading over to Farming Complex. Going to start off with some Control Point. We're moving on to Military Warehouse for some TDM. Then over to HM Skyscrapers. And if we do need it, Wild West Saloon as our 5th and final map. And so far, off the bat, it's going to be a slight lead for forZe, but that lead's quickly going to turn over towards Lazarus, as they now have, well, they had the lead themselves until they lost about 3 players.
Well, if it's going to be Game 5, then Lazarus is going to be very happy about that, because that's one of their better maps. But this is also one of their better maps. They're not too bad on this. Even though they didn't show strong showing last week against Noble, they're not weak on this. It's going to be one of the situations where we have to see how forZe play this. But so far, they've had a good start.
So I was saying before, when we saw Paradise Islands comparing the two teams, I thought forZe played it much better. The problem is, though, that King of the Hill, we're not going to that map in particular, but that's our 5th and final. So to see potentially, you know, if we do get to that final map, I would honestly put my money over towards forZe with just how they played that alone. I guess it more comes down to the way Lazarus is going to respond to that situation. But look at this, 150-point difference here in favor of forZe so far, really putting their foot into this door here, making their first step forward into the main event here coming up in Texas.
Yeah, they've been playing so well. Hale earlier had another triple elimination, so managed to keep the entire Lazarus squad on spawn. But as well as they're gelling and working together now, they seem to get the angles quite well.
Can we commentate in cowboy hats?
I think we need to. If we as well.
Can we do like a full Texas suit, which is a full denim suit basically?
I've never done it before, but
a nice big belt buckle, and can we have like spurs? I am into this. I am totally into this.
Mate, if you do it, I'll do it. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm just gotta find suits that are that tall, I guess.
Well, if it's that tall, then leave me out because I'm quite short. So,
I mean, you're average height. You're normal height. I'm just a freak.
You just make me look short.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, it's also short right now. Currently points here for Lazarus, 587 compared to 800. The biggest lead we've seen all day so far. And these teams are more evenly matched, or we assume are more evenly matched than the prior two we've had.
Yeah, when we saw Lazarus play HAKI earlier, you know, the scores were quite close, but managed to get a convincing 2-0. But how forZe played against EMBER earlier, I was quite surprised considering how convincing it was. So we're going to see exactly what else they can do in this first map. You see forZe still doing such a great job of keeping him on spawn, but as you see, Lazarus are trying to work together, try and get that flank round, trying to do as much as they can, but forZe are just doing such a good job just keeping them at bay.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit? And we're going to go a little bit sidetracked here, is Quake, actually.
Yeah?
Quake champions, in terms of having the right weapon for the right situation. We saw someone trying to go for a long-range shot, and then Stayson comes up with a shotgun. He didn't have the right weapon out, he could do the same amount of damage, and Stayson wins that battle. It just seems to be kind of a story here for forZe so far over the course of today.
No, you're not far from wrong there, but even now, though, I don't think Lazarus can do too much more. 200-point difference, and it's still only 80 points, 70 points now to go for forZe. It's looking like it could be a first victory for forZe in a way to potentially book in their place into Texas.
I don't think they can even lose this match anymore. They have a 2-point cap currently, 1194, 1198, and 1200 right around the corner. And they will take their first map here in this best of 5 very quickly. But that is, again, one of the biggest leads we've seen so far today. And if you're Lazarus, you have to be a little bit worried now going into the rest of this series. Maybe control point is just not your style. The problem is, map 3 will be control. So you're going to have to win one of these eventually. Well, technically you don't have to. But then that means you have to win this next map. So I'm trying to do the math again in my head. You have to win this next map then.
Do maths. You just shouldn't do it.
Oh, they don't win this map, they're going back to control and atrium. So if they're not going to favor controls up against forZe, they need to win this TDM map, because then the final 2 is a TDM and a Koth. So,
but they're not that bad at control, which is what I'm quite surprised with. Even on this map, with a 200-point gap, like, you know, that's not unheard of. It is quite common, but for a team like Lazarus, they should be the one with the 200-point lead. But there's so many things forZe did just to keep him at bay. Like, for example, you know, when they actually got him on spawn, they hit.
Oh, you missed the knife twice?
Straight for the spawns as well, and yeah, it's hard to say really. Lazarus aren't looking the greatest right now, but maybe this could be not one of their map picks.
Maybe indeed. I'm actually curious to see if we do have a highlight of that Stayson play I was talking about, where he kind of ran around the corner. Yeah, right there. I think he was up against a guy who didn't have a shotgun out. He got the first shot off, and then he switched to shotgun. And it's like, you're not going to win those exchanges. You shouldn't be able to win those exchanges. So really good job by forZe just to have the right weapon in the right situations, you know?
Yeah, because even though you do switch weapons, it takes 1 or 2 seconds, but it's the feeling, you know, mentality-wise, of actually being able to get caught off guard and be able to switch at the same time. You may be able to fit one shot off, but even then, it's not enough to keep him from the points.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how good your aim is going to be. Once you've taken a big chunk of damage from a shotgun, the only way you're going to win that fight is the other guy misses. And at that level of play we're currently sitting at, no one's going to miss those shots unless you're me.
Well, you know, you can't put yourself too short.
I mean, at least I don't play with a controller.
See, he's talking about me being a console kid, but, you know, he thinks he's gone on the PC. He's not.
Okay, well, you know what we're going to have, actually, after this match. We still have North America come up later. Before North America, him and I are going to go showdown, throw down, put money on the line here. $10,000, 1v1. Guns a boom.
Well,
You keen to take that bet?
Well, I feel bad for taking money from you. See?
You know
you're
what?
bluffing
Too. You're bluffing as well, but you caught my bluff first.
I'm not saying anything, but like, I mean, you know, it says the
you
phone.
have 10 grand, I don't.
I don't, but I don't know. I don't know where we'll get it from, but yeah.
Production, do you guys have 10 grand?
I think that could be a no.
No, not at all. I thought they'd give me a thumbs up, but instead I got something else. I got told nope. We are moving on to our next map, so we'll be hopping in just a few seconds, and it's going to be over on Military Warehouse, and it's going to be TDM. And I feel like, again, this is going to be a map that forZe is going to favor. They just seem to be, in terms of fragging power, the better team.
Yeah, well, this map is one of the better maps for Noble, but Noble aren't in this. But we've seen Lazarus do quite well on this map as on top of things, but didn't have a great showing at IEM on this map, so we'll have to see what changes they've made. They've only had to make in terms of like what they can do, but see how it goes.
Say they didn't have a great showing. I didn't think they showed up. 4-0.
AFK.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, they were there and they were playing, but it just wasn't their day, unfortunately, for them. They had a stand-in, if I'm not mistaken, you were telling me about, so that can definitely harm you quite a bit. And as I talked about, forZe seem to have the better aiming when it comes to these battles. At the moment, they have a massive lead in favor of Lazarus. And look at that coming in from the side, give me a nice little double out of Excellency, GOB, Excellency, able to get those massive frags. And this lead, over double the points here until that happened.
Yeah, Excellence did try and pull back then when he was on his own, since Spleen would take too much damage then. But instead they pulled back, but didn't pull back enough to actually gel with his teammates, to actually go around the wolf pack to go around the side. So have to wait for the spawn cycle again, push up again, but look at this wolf pack from Lazarus squad. Even though 2 of them went just then, you saw there that Deadly managed to take him down no problem. Quite shocking.
And you can see the composure I think out of forZe, they're actually, once they get some eliminations, get some of the kills in, they hold some positions. They don't get too cocky like before, like we saw in control point. They're not rushing the spawns. They're trying to hold these angles and, again, get that early damage in and force Lazarus to come out of their own spawn and fight for tooth and nail every inch of this map. Or centimeter, I mean. I guess you were in Europe, so.
Wherever the Europe measurements are, pretty much. But looking at the scores now, 70-point gap between both teams. Quite large, if I'm mistaken now, but as you can see, forZe, a couple of teammates are quite weak, so they're waiting for Lazarus to make the first move, but are they going to give them that opportunity? Is there a gap somewhere on the map which they can push through? But it looks like they're going to play them at their game, just have a bit of a stalemate, play for time, see what they can do. But forZe, even though they're the weaker team in terms of damage, they're the ones that have to push, but it seems like even if they do, you've got players like Romeo taking them out one by one, but he's still there. Romeo took out one, Essence took out another, but sadly, Essence didn't get the second. Larson got the double there, but Romeo was there for the trade.
Gotta be careful. Okay, so just a deadly off to the side. You do not want to push out without your team here, especially with how close these scores really are between the two. 40, 50 points between them, 54, nailed it. But we can see, though, they're trying to really respect each other, as there's a lot of time going away without really much frags between the two teams. And I think you're really seeing like the composure and also the importance of this map here for both of them.
It's going to be very difficult when you get some of the players who are quite weak. They do try and snipe from these off-key angles, but even then, you've got to watch for the flank as well. If the team of Lazarus know that, then they're going to go straight in. As you can see there, 3 kills from that one instance, all on spawn now for forZe, and they need to try and work out a way to try and like cover the gap.
You see excellence here paired up with Romeo. Trying to push this side, but Hale and Deadly is going to try and back in on the scoreboard. And this might be the first time we're actually going to see them take the lead, though Deadly is very low in HP and eventually will fall to Romeo. 50 points separates the two, but we've seen how quickly that gap can really trade between the two teams, just coming down to a couple of limbs. See Hale trying to snipe back here, not really able to hit any shots just yet. But he's waiting for some teammates to respawn in, and more importantly, able to heal up as well, and he gets caught without the right weapon out, and Excellence just drops him.
Yeah, Excellence very aggressive at change of style. DivineKing must get 2 of his own as well. Must increase that lead just that little bit more now. And forZe, they do not want to take it to the Game 5. They really want to try and close this out, maybe before that Game 5 even happens. But it's going to be a tough one here. Lazarus doing a good job, just doing a bit of damage, but then again, he's still standing there. Managed to hold him back a little bit more, but Romeo, great kill from him to help things out to try and get that big double.
Yeah, he gets a double where he should have only gotten 1, but Stacen's going to try and back, getting himself a double. 40 points about between the two. A minute left to go here, Lethal, as things are really starting to wind down and really starting to crank up. 60 points left to go here for Lazarus to tie things up at 1 apiece. And you know forZe doesn't want to let that happen.
No, they don't want to let this happen at all now. 30-point gap here. We've seen this map on so many times in the past of how close it can be, but somehow Romeo managed to get that one there. Mano managed to get a double now. It's only 1 more kill in it between win for Lazarus here, but how are they going to get it? It's going to be a tough one now. They're all trapped on spawn, trying to get 1 by 1, but they managed to get 2 free down now.
Don't tell me they win this. Do not tell me they come back. DivineKing's trying to stay alive, just trying to stay back, wait for his teammates to respawn back in. 25 seconds to go, and forZe are going to have to make the move. They're going to have to put the pedal to the metal here to pick up these eliminations without dropping 1. DivineKing's trying to play an off angle, trying to potentially catch them as they transition across. Here we go, the push comes in. Romeo, I think he connected the shot, and that will be Lazarus taking the map themselves, tying things up at 1 apiece, but damn, that was close.
That was so close. Literally, forZe had like at least 3 members trapped on the spawn. There was nothing they could have done. They had to get some damage done beforehand, but you saw Lazarus, they got a bit overzealous, so they kind of pushed a bit too far onto their spawn. It wasn't because of respawn immunity or anything like that. They were just trying to get the off angles before they actually come out on spawn. Wasn't the case. forZe managed to get those 3 kills, and then you saw Lazarus managed to get the final 1, but either way, anything could have happened. DivineKing, he was really weak.
Yeah.
He had a few of the players who were quite weak towards the end, but they were just trying to get their damage done and let one of the players with the most health and armor to push in and clean things up.
It seemed like as well that Lazarus is able to penetrate and go for these like weird flanking routes. They're able to catch them off guard so many times. Like there were so many situations we saw where a player off of Lazarus would get like 2, 3 kills when he should have gotten 1 max. Seemed like communication wasn't there, or maybe the shots just didn't hit out of forZe, but you can't have that happen, especially in TDM. I guess Control Point and Koth are a little bit more forgivable, but with only 500 points as a cap here on this mode, every kill counts.
I think that was the situation DivineKing was in. Where he was standing, he probably got the first shot, but even then, he shouldn't be able to get a double like that. That was quite absurd. I would probably say missed a few shots here and there.
Yeah, and you're seeing right there as well, like Romeo just dodged away from Larson, gets himself a double, almost gets a 3rd on a Stacy, who eventually got a triple himself. But there's so many situations like that. Romeo should have not gotten that second one. Just those shots were not landing, and you saw what happened. It came down to like a 2 frag difference.
But even at the end, forZe shouldn't have got those last 3 kills anyway. That's why I was so surprised. They had the angles, they had the map control. Just let them come.
Yeah, well, you live, you learn, I guess. But they still won in the end. I would say, though, you know, when the pressure's on the line, you know, it was big bucks, and you're in Texas, and you're on the stage, and you got Lethal with barbecue sauce smeared all over his face and shirt. You know, that's when you really have to make the right moves. And this is like the perfect opportunity to train in those situations, because you have to win this match to get through to even that event. So the pressure's on. You might not be on a stage right now, but you have to make the right decisions, and I would completely agree. Why not just all like sit in a room together, wait for them to come to you? But obviously the grenades can be a little bit of a distracting or disrupting factor in that situation. But either way, moving into now our third map, HM, going back to control. And this is where forZe looked very, very strong.
You saw the Lazarus managed to get the first 2 kills there, but Larson just came from behind and cleaned one up anyway. But great map control to start off for Lazarus here. See if they can get 2 more of those points on the board, but Larson and Stace managed to get running one anyway. The Divine King and Excellence managed to clean up, trying to get 1 more, which they do.
Divine King up to 74 points. Lord Mono having a little bit of a rough start, but then again, it doesn't matter too much when you're currently up by about 30 points. See now Deadly trying to push him from behind. Excellence should drop. And actually Deadly's not even the one to get the kill there. So maybe a little bit of a miss shot coming through.
Yeah, Hale has been doing a great job on all of, well, on every map, not just in the last match of this one as well. He's been on cleanup duty so far, but look at that. Lazarus now, all 4 down, and it's just a matter of getting that map control, getting that high ground, keep him on spawn, and that way hopefully take this game. But so far, forZe have done a not bad job trying to get off spawn there, but then again, it was very easy for Lazarus to keep him at bay, get that damage done, and wait for that next fight.
This is definitely one of the more difficult maps, I'd say, if we compare the last 2 that we've had. There's different levels you have to fight on. It's not only are you aiming horizontally, like left to right, you have to aim up and down, you have to aim vertically. And that adds a completely different dimension when you're trying to attack these players. Obviously, if you put in the time that these players have, you generally should be good at it, but it does, you know, open up a lot more angles to be shot from. You have to play a lot more cautiously. So far, though, forZe, they do have the lead themselves. They're still looking to maintain it here, trying to fight around B. Nice little flank comes through out of Deadly to take Lord Mono out again.
Yeah, the B point is definitely the most difficult on this map. Your spawn location is literally right in front of you. So the only thing you can do is distract them by grabbing their A or C, depending on what they have, trying to keep them away from the middle, and then grab it afterwards. Sometimes you need a full team wipe or get at least 3 down to even make an attempt at it.
Let's see, Hale not trying to push in towards C. No one there to defend that. Being shot from behind. I think that was Excellence who does fall. No points in control here at the moment for forZe, so a lot of points can be tricking away as they're looking to take towards B. They should be able to secure this one, yes. They still have to make their way over towards A, then make their way over towards C to get the 2 points back for themselves. There's still 3 players on the B point, and the 3 players will eventually be cleaned up here, so all they did was net themselves the point for a little bit of time and net themselves the lead for a little bit longer, but eventually this should be turning.
This is exactly what I was talking about as well. As soon as they got 3 dead, they went straight in there, managed to get B. They're trying to get B now still, but forZe does such a good job contesting it now, and only 50 points stabilised between the 2 teams. It's so close. It's really been neck and neck, and neither team has managed to stabilise from that 100, 200 point gap.
Deadly's been able to do some serious work, as you saw before. The problem is Lord Mono's starting to wake up here. Back in the favor of Lazarus, they have about a 10-point difference between the 2. A and C still being maintained by them as the battle is still just breaking out towards B, and yet somehow forZe are still in the lead with 100 points left to go for both teams. They need to capture the point. They need to do it ASAP. They will rotate over towards A. We can see Lord Mono coming from behind. He should be able to win this battle, and I'm going to say I think Lazarus should be able to take this map.
You saw there was a great play from Mano. He was going to go for B point, but when he realised that A was being taken, there was only 1 member there. Just had to get him from behind, finish him off, and that's what he has done. But look how close the gap is now. There's only a few points separating them, but forZe managed to be able to take that right at the very end under their nose.
You know what amazes me about that is that I'm pretty sure forZe did not have control of 2 points for the majority of that game, and yet they still won based off of frags.
I would probably agree with that. It's just, it seemed a little bit weird how, on the circumstances you saw there, that they had 2 of the points, they were in a great position, managed to get map control, managed to come from behind to get the A towards the end, and it just seemed a little bit weird. We kind of made that assumption, but, you know, this is Guns of Boom, man. Sometimes these things can happen.
I'll let you off the hook. I definitely made the assumption that it should have been Lazarus winning, so if you want to, you know, not take the blame with me, that's cool.
No, I'll be honest. I kind of assumed that, you know, with a 40-point gap like that, it's so close to finishing the game, it's kind of those things where, you know, you make that assumption, but somehow forZe, right at the very end, managed to take that. So, you know, impressive stuff from them.
I really wish we had like a timer to see how long players had majority control, or teams had majority control, because I swear, you see right there, A and C still being controlled, B being fought for the entire time. ANC still in their control. Like, it's just ridiculous to see how long they actually did have these 2 points, but just coming into these eliminations, that's where the tide really turned. That's where, you know, forZe was able to really pull ahead.
Yeah, this is the final moments there, but I'm not too sure. Maybe they got a double or triple elimination because you get additional points. Maybe one of them had a kill streak in some way. Maybe something on the lines of that to actually help them get that lead at the end.
Had to have been something there.
Yeah, it was like 11.97 to 11.93, and we saw Lazarus there at the end, but I'm not too sure what Lazarus wanted to do. Maybe they could have stayed back and let the points speak for themselves and then go ahead afterwards, but yeah, that was definitely a close one.
I think maybe Lazarus kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and they were like, all right, well, we got this. Like, all right, we won, boys. We did it. We're up 2-1 now. One more round away from closing this out, but as we saw there, that just completely did not work out in their favor. But luckily for them, they're going back to TDM. This is where they were able to take the map earlier on. They did it fairly convincing, but they definitely showed they like to play a lot more passive when it comes to TDM, and force forZe to be the one to make the mistakes and to make the plays.
Yeah, TDM is naturally quite passive anyway, depending on which map it is, especially on maps like Europe Streets, but I don't think that's going to be played anyway. But it depends really. Normally in many FPS titles, if you see the team taking the objective game types, normally they end up winning the series, which I hope that's not the case. But like I mentioned before, if Lazarus take this game and take it to a game 5, playing on Wild West Saloon on one of the better maps, then you never know. Lazarus could be in a good spot, but first, they need to take that game 4.
Sorry, I'm just looking at chat between the two teams and our admins, and Hale and Deadly are saying they're not ready because they need to relax after that last match. I mean, to be fair, with how close it was, I can understand, and with them now being one map away from getting through to Texas, like that's a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and they definitely want to be able to take a breather, think some things over, because I mean, basically all expense paid trip, travel, accommodations. You get to shake this man's hand, which in its right should be worth a ton of money. Then you get to see.
None of it's worth a ton of money. Maybe like $2.
That's a ton in some countries. You never know. But it's a lot on the line, you know, to really make a name for yourself, to be able to travel, meet your teammates, everything, the whole situation.
And the prize money as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, and the prize money. That was like the cherry on top when it comes to. But we do move on to Skyscraper now, back to TDM. Lazarus did win when we were on Military Warehouse before, but can they do it again to take us to a 5th and final map here, Lethal?
That's right, Mano with the first strike there. And you get a lot of interesting start strategies here. Sometimes you can see a lot of teams holding backs at separate angles, waiting for them to make the first move to push up top mid. Or sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 members push all the way through top mid or try and get a sneaky flank from behind. But that wasn't the case. Lazarus stood their ground, like you mentioned before, can play quite passive on TDMs. You know, sometimes TDMs can be quite a passive game type. But look at this though, 3 members of forZe are just waiting to push through with Mano all on his own.
You should not win this. There we go. I was going to say, there should be no way he's going to win that.
Imagine.
That would definitely be impressive. And it actually seems to have flushed out the rest of the players. You see Lazarus kind of being caught with their pants around their ankles, not really expecting or not really knowing where to go in this situation, as control of this little room has gone over the way of forZe. And this little shot by Hale does help secure them one step closer to being in the lead, but as we can see, the lead's still in favor of Lazarus yet again.
It's very hard as well, don't get me wrong, forZe have done a great job going around as a Wolfpack in 3, trying to take parts of the map, but with that G-Launcher as well, this is the thing with the consumables in Season 2. It kind of stops you from making these small plays, but look at that now, Mano with a double elimination with Divine King, getting that trade-off there. So it's looking very good here for Lazarus to start off with.
Yeah, 154 to 91. And again, just sitting back with Mano. Well, he's not a lot of HP, but just looking to do as much damage as he possibly can. Might try to play the long-range weapon like you said before. He's so low on health, but eventually he should be closed out on. But Lazarus, again, taking their time, not giving really any of these angles up. The gap has thinned. There's only 20 points now between the two teams, but we know again how low Lord Mano is. They know that 20 points can quickly swing in the favor of forZe.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of players. Sometimes if you get one really weak, they'll wait for the rest of the team to respawn, they'll get behind them, but nice shot there from Hale. He's been doing work every single map, and he's definitely a force to be reckoned with here. But Divine King does try and take out one more. Oh, Larson managed to probably push it a little bit too far there. Mano managed to clean up. But we'll have to see how Lazarus push out here, because even though forZe had the map control, they're trying to make plays, but Mano there did get the flank, did get taken down by Hale anyway. But look at that, Divine King, Exons managed to get 2 of their own, but Larson, again, managed to get the refrag.
The thing is, like, once you have a lead, like we do have Lazarus have, albeit 12 points, you don't have to play aggressive ever. You can just literally sit back, let them come to you and force them to make these mistakes so that it can net you a bigger and bigger lead. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. I like this. It's smart. It's not the most flashy of plays, but hey, what a trip to the US and to play on a tournament, a lot of money on the line is at stake. You play whatever you can do to win.
They can chill, relax, pitch up a tent, see what they can do here and there. But
I think meant in Texas. I'm like, you probably shouldn't do that in Texas. It's like 40-something degrees at night, even in winter there. I think you'll melt.
Yeah, that's probably, okay, maybe I probably wouldn't do that, but I'm sure Lazarus won't anyway. As you can see now, 14-point gap between both these teams. And even though Lazarus have been on the defensive, been doing a good job trying to get some damage done here and they wait for the opportunity. But look at forZe now. They've been sticking together as a 3 or 4 on every part of the map to see if they can find some kind of opening. But with the high ground they've got here, it's doing so well. But Stason managed to get excellence there. Hell there managed to get another one for themselves.
Look at that.
Look at this now. Now they're the ones who can play defensive. They are the ones who need to wait for Lazarus to make another mistake.
Yeah, they're backed up. They're just holding angles now. They're forcing, like you said, Lazarus to be the ones to push in against them, and that's what's going to happen with a point swing like that. You gave them a couple of pixels to shoot at, and the snipers took your head clean off. Now we see them trying to come around the corner here. Hale's going to come around the corner with some explosives and not really do too much with it. And now back to Lazarus with the 4-point lead. A minute left to go.
Time to run straight back as you see some of the members
No, Stason, retreat,
gonna wait
man.
for another day.
Retreat now.
I've managed to get a shot off, but he does need to retreat. You're all right. I think at that stage, he didn't have damage, but he don't want to take so much. But one snipe shot, any shot really, can finish him off. But right now, he is going to let Hell stand in front of him, so at least he can take the damage for him if he does try and help out. But even though Lazarus had the map control, forZe managed to clean up there.
Now play passive. Now get your 2 lowest HP targets either to die really quickly to respawn back into full HP, or put them in the back and put your high HP targets in front so you can soak up this damage. You only have to last for another 27 seconds to win this and to get through into Texas to the Pro Series event. See Stason looking for an angle here up against Lord Mono. Eventually Stason's just going to back up. See Larson holding the doorway. They come through. Dadley gets another elimination on the board here, so this lead is lengthening here, Lethal, with 15 seconds left.
They really need to do something now. Excellent does get one on the board, but it's still a 42-point gap. They really need to do something now. Push together, get some flanks, get some angles, do something to try and catch up. There's only 5 seconds left.
Hide.
Already got 1 down, 2 down there. There's only 23 points between the 2 teams, but in the end, forZe managed to take that just barely. 372 to 351.
I was getting really antsy there. Squeaky bum moment for me for forZe. Like 10 seconds left, you're up by like 30, 40 points. Just hide. You literally don't have to face them. You don't need eliminations. I don't care if you're trying to really bring insult to injury against them. It's all about the victory. It's all about that trip to Texas now to play for the large amount of money. And they did come through in the end, albeit they were definitely challenged on that one.
Oh, definitely. It was a very close affair. You saw a lot of occasions where Lazarus did make the right play just to like wait back and try and get the damage done first before they push in, because they were quite weak in a number of times. But forZe took some huge risks there. You know, with the G launcher and some of the nades, you know, one good shot could easily not clean them up, but get so much damage done in the blast radius. But they didn't really mind too much, but they did it the entire time. So I was quite surprised they got away with that so much.
Yeah, and I was actually surprised to see forZe. Well, not surprised. I was actually happy to see them. Once they had the lead, you saw the instant switch in the mentality and the way that they were taking these fights. They were realizing, all right, let's play defensive. Let them come to us, and then we can win out on these exchanges. And eventually win the whole thing. They win it 3-1. They got their spot now with Unbreakable from EU to represent this region in Texas. But you know what that means? We still have North America to come up. We got to find our 2 finalists from there as well. That'll be coming up in about 2 hours of time. But I think we want to take a look at the standings one more time in a second, just to kind of show you guys of how the points did work out. Because even with that big victory coming through, and we'll take a look at the brackets now actually before we get to standings, so you guys get an idea of the pass here. Even with these results, Unbreakable still had such a massive lead over everyone else.
Yeah, it didn't matter too much. With Unbreakables, they did go out very, very early in the tournament. Definitely the biggest upset of this cup, but doesn't matter too much. They've guaranteed their spot to go to Texas. HAKI, a new team which we haven't seen much of in the probably about round of 16, but their first time getting the top 4 in the semi-final. So even though they lost 2-0 to Lazarus, they did a great job at least making it on stream. But it'd be great to see how they play next season with that point reset.
Yep.
And you've got forZe, Major 10 and EMBER 2-0, quite convincingly, quite surprising considering how good EMBER are. But for forZe, I feel like if they didn't take that map number 4, it would have been very difficult to take map number 5. So I think they're feeling pretty relieved.
And I want to go back to something you pointed out for HAKI and EMBER. The fact is, yes, they cannot qualify for the Pro Series tournament in Texas. but they now have the opportunity to train and work towards the cups for the Latin American event. It's not like, yeah, it's over, all right, you should end your career now. It's no, you come back stronger next time, you get into the Latin American tournament, and then potentially, if you do well there, you might get into the next Gods of Boom. And you might have to compete up against Noble as they take off their shirts. So hopefully someone has some custom shirts made as well to compete against that for when they win, if they win against Noble. But that means we're pretty much done here. I was surprised to see some of these results, but some great gameplay and some great teams as well. And let's take a look at the stands one more time, just to kind of reaffirm what two teams will be moving through into the main event. Unbreakable, I think they had about 275 points, if I'm not mistaken. 200. Oh, sorry, Tuesday. Oh, they actually came through in second seed. All right, so there you go. So they haven't come through first seed, which means they have an even tougher time if the seeding works correctly into the main event. We have to play against a number 1 seed from another region. So they're going to have definitely a lot of work cut out for them. But forZe taking the number 1 spot at 290 points. And that was with Unbreakable getting 0 from this tournament. Like, that's how far ahead they were.
Yeah, it didn't really matter too much. I think they managed to work things out and realise that it doesn't matter how bad they play. Knocked out first round on a final, it doesn't matter. But forZe getting that number 1 seed, that's so huge because I think it guarantees a spot to play in the winners' semi-finals, I believe, in the NA Pro Series. Don't quote me on that, but I am quite sure.
Quoting you on it.
But he's just going to remember it now. When we get there, it's going to be like, no, they're not. And I'm just be like, okay.
Well, I'm sad for Noble a little bit.
I'm really sad. I think both Lazarus and Noble, because the last 2 live events we've had, they've been in the final both times, and now we're not going to see them in the NA Pro Series. But it doesn't mean we won't see them again. We will see them, of course, when we go into the more thorough into the next season, going for that LATAM Pro Series as well. But it just shows that it doesn't matter if you're a veteran team or a new team, there's still that ability to, be able to make these playoffs and be able to qualify for these Pro Series.
Well, unfortunately, we do have to come to an end here for today for the European version of our Cup number 7. We still have North America to come up in about 2 hours of time, so make sure you come back in, make sure you check out what's going to be happening there. And we'll see you guys in about 2 hours of time with some North American action.